Yeah.
Welcome.
Hare Krishna, very honored to be here. Thank you for Madam Guru Bhakti and Sarvabhauma Prabhu for your continued support and encouragement to do this kind of quite challenging service. Why I call it challenging is I'm going to start my slide presentation. Is it okay if I share my screen?
You should have permission. Do you see the button? I made you the co-host.
Okay. Can you see my
Yes, Prabhu.
can you see my slides, first slide?
Yes. Yes.
So Hare Krishna, and yeah, so basically you want to wait till more devotees come in, or you want to start? I can start with Jai Radha Madhava, or
Perfect. That would be.
I don't have kartals, but I can get one from the DT room, but I can just start. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajajannaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajannaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Gauranita, Jaya Gauranita, Jaya Gauranita, Jaya Gauranita. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatarubhischa kripa sindhubhyascha patidanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chaksurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadari Swapadantikam. Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuda Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Tam Sajivam Sadvatam Savdhutam Parijana Sahitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhan. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesa Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Sapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanuste Pranamami Yavancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyascha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo. Hare Krishna. So, so actually our Prabhupada Research Institute is actually the medical version of the Bhaktivedanta Institute. How many of you know Bhaktivedanta Institute? Yeah, so, okay, Hare Krishna. So Prabhupada actually wanted the scientific branch of the Hare Krishna movement to actually reach out to the scientists, the scientific intellectuals, the scientists and intellectuals of the society, to actually recognize that what that this movement is not a some sentimental concoction. It's actually like we have the philosophy and we have the we also know, like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said, if it's something without if there is philosophy, but there is people think that we are sentimental, but actually we have a lot of philosophy, and people, we are also scientific, because what we are taking from the Vedic conclusions from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings are scientifically based, and they can be, to an extent, they could be verified and applied to the common man. So this movement is for philosophers, it's for scientists, it's for businessmen, it's for farmers, it's people from all walks of life can, like Krishna is saying in the Bhagavad Gita, it's for surrendering to his lotus feet is actually very simple, and it can be presented to everybody. And but how do you actually get people to think about surrendering to the Supreme Lord? Anyone? What is the first step?
Some kind of faith.
Yeah, that's a good answer to start.
It should also be logical, reasonable.
Sorry, I didn't get you, Prabhu.
It should also be logical, reasonable.
Yes. So basically, seeing like Prabhupada said, the first step is appreciate nature. If you can't appreciate the Bhagavan, you need to understand how that whose nature is the nature we are seeing. Like to come to that mindful state of appreciating the beauty of nature, one has to appreciate, one has to have some sense of seeing things as they are. And that's what we call as sattva guna, or mode of goodness. So unless, like even Prabhupada, when he was passing away on his departure, he said that we need to actually make people understand sattvic life. And sattvic life is, you can actually prove many aspects of mode of goodness medically and scientifically. If you just see, if we say before, we all know what 4 regulative principles are. Ultimately the 4 regulative principles, they're supposed to come automatically when one actually develops a taste to chant the holy name. And like Prabhupada, he first introduced in New York, he introduced the chanting of the holy name. He didn't introduce rules and regulations. So he planted a portal to Sattva Guna, to the hippies, so that people could see that get a taste of sattvic life. Through chanting the holy name, one could be infused. Although the many hippies were in the mode of lower modes of nature, just by chanting the pure devotee, they could actually be infused with mode of goodness, and they could actually wake up from the the dream of material existence. So Prabhupada wanted us to scientifically validate the many aspects of sattvic living, and he actually asked us to with Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj and Sadaputta Prabhu and other devotees. He wanted us to actually show to the scientists that this is not a sentiment or a cult. And Prabhupada always referred to devotional path as a science of Krishna consciousness. He always says the science. So there are three spheres, and we should not. There are actually 2 spheres that we should not be, or we actually commonly mistake them. Okay, there is the objective sphere and the subjective sphere, and the sphere of philosophical understanding is actually a subjective sphere, and you have the objective sphere, which is a much smaller subset of the same reality, and where you measure, you have things to measure. And that's how science is based. That's all why science, science, did you know that material science, actually, if you see astronomy, like today's astronomy is based on astrology. Kepler, he actually took, Kepler's laws of motion, right? You have, all the planetary motions. Kepler was the first person who observed, and he actually took those concepts from actually ancient astrology. Scientists today dismiss astrology as something mythical, but actually the basic laws of astronomy are actually based on astrology. And also, that's number 1. Number 2 is, why did we see it? This like we're having the Zoom conference. There's no dispute that we are able to talk like this. It's actually it's something very significant, something comparable to Dhritarashtra's celestial vision when he asked Sanjaya to broadcast what was happening in Kurukshetra war. So the technology today is actually very unique in the sense that it is meant to spread the glories of the holy name and Srimad Bhagavatam. That is why Krishna allowed science and technology to develop. So we need to actually use what we have to actually show that Krishna consciousness is actually the central point of life using scientific methods. And in the first place, that's why we have developed, and there's no question of fighting with anybody that today's science and technology is demoniac or things like that. As long as our motive is to remind people of their constitutional position, then the scientific progress we have is glorious. And one can also see chronologically science developed exactly at the around the advent of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. See, modern medicine developed from developments in basic sciences like physics, chemistry, and biology. If you just see, if you go back 1400s, how did it all start? It started with printing press. We wouldn't have had books without a printing press, which was invented in the 1400s. And also then you had the printing press, and the printing press led to Copernicus theory, the heliocentric theory. And then finally in 1700s, you had the invention of vaccines, different medications. And then you had the steam engine went to, and then we started motor car, and motor car led to planes, and then after that jets. And that's how we had the explosion of technological advancement. But if you just trace it back, it all actually started with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's advent. So nothing can happen without Krishna's will. And I think, in my opinion, we have to use the science we have to actually glorify the Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and that's why this all happened. And I think I fervently want devotees to look at scientific progress in that angle. There's no point cursing everything. There's always good things and bad things. There's a positive way of looking at things, and there's a negative way of looking at things. So Krishna likes us to see things in a positive way. So that is the first reason why Prabhupada said, let's see the positive aspects of science. If Prabhupada was always anti-science, he wouldn't have wanted the Bhaktivedanta Institute. But because Prabhupada said, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, the central focus of this movement is chanting the holy name. And because it is the medicine for Kali Yuga, we thought we should actually show the medical benefits of different aspects of Krishna consciousness, starting with chanting the holy name. So this is our institute. It's abbreviated as PRIME, Prabhupada Research Institute for Integrative Medicine. I was inspired to find it after many years of deliberation and consultation with many great devotees who guided me and helped me, inspired me to do this. In 2017, we started this institute, and we've been doing quite some work with the holy name research. So, so research in medical science has immediate practical health benefits for all devotees. Whereas the BI research is more literary, and art is also important, but it only supports our philosophy. It does not show that there are practical health benefits for somebody who practices sattvic life. of our Krishna conscious life. I hope I'm making sense here, because it is a very important thing. You know, a lot of people think, okay, you have this philosophy, you know, you talk, say you talk about first canto Srimad Bhagavatam. What is there? What is, how does that really make meaning to a common man? You know, like it makes meaning by understanding that taking shelter of the holy name can relieve you of many anxieties. And Rupa Goswami has also said in the Nectar of Devotion, the first sign of devotional service is a complete relief from material anxieties. And how do you get that? It comes from chanting the holy name. Obviously, it's not like following some rules and regulations. It comes from chanting the holy name. At least in my case, when I was a medical student and I came to Krishna consciousness, I got a taste by chanting the Hare Krishna maha-mantra. And also, I must say that I was an asthmatic, and after I when the first time I met devotees, you know, actually my Guru Maharaj was the first devotee I met, and he asked me to chant the Hare Krishna mantra, chant 16. On the very day, first day, he said, chant 16 rounds. So I did not know what chanting 16 rounds was, but what I did was, and he told me these are the things you can do. So I thought 16 rounds means 16 beads, chanting 16 times a day. So after I chanted, and I was so, after I met him, I had a transformation. Of course, his personality was like, I knew that he meant, he was walking his talk. And because of that purity and realization, although I chanted 16 times for 3 days, that was actually that made a lot of difference. So I went back on the third day and I said, Swamiji, I chanted 16 rounds. But he said, how much time did you take the 16 rounds? I said, it just took me about 1 minute. So he said, how could you do 16 rounds in 1 minute? And I said, no, you meant 16 times. So I didn't. So he said, no, that's not what I meant. Then he took out the Japmala and he showed me 1 round is 108 and then go. So I was very glad to know that, and I started chanting 16 rounds. And as I was a second year medical student, and I was living in a city, Hyderabad. Secunderabad was my birthplace, and I noticed that over the next 2 years, all my asthma problems disappeared. My asthma, I used to regularly get asthmatic attacks, and I would always wonder, how did this asthma, which no doctor could treat, just disappear like that? So is there any medical, how does the mantra affect biology? That was always my curiosity. For 20 years, I thought about it. How did it happen? What is the mechanism of action? So what did it do inside myself? And so then I understood, then I studied integrative medicine, Ayurveda, and I realized one thing. Did you all know that Ayurveda is basically a Dvaita? It's actually a theistic philosophy, and it separates Jiva from Ishvara. Ayurveda is incompatible to impersonalism. So why not? Ayurveda is actually an aspect of Vaishnava philosophy. So why not I thought, why not we look into, different sections of Ayurveda, which actually can help spread the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. And I found many, many interesting, not even, we don't have to go very far. We just see Krishna mentions Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita itself, and I'm going to come to that. So, if you just see Prabhupada's purport, Srimad Bhagavatam, first chapter, first canto, 5th chapter, 22nd verse. Therefore, all the sages and devotees of the Lord have recommended the subject matter of art, science, philosophy, physics, chemistry, psychology, and all other branches of knowledge should be wholly and solely applied in the service of the Lord. And I skipped a few lines, and it may be used in glorifying the Lord. So instead of dismissing art or saying all these things are all Maya, we can actually use it to glorify Krishna, and we can appeal to many people and engage many people, and actually people can actually embrace Krishna consciousness when we see all these different branches. People have different talents, people have different propensities. So why not medicine be used to actually to propagate the medicine of Hare Krishna mantra? So that was another inspiration to me why I wanted to do this research for a very long time. So our mission is very simple: to explore the guidance offered in the Vedas, how to maintain wellness as an integral complex, body, mind, and soul. It's quite a simple, and how to correlate human wellness interlinked with spiritual dimension. So even Ayurveda actually says the ultimate goal of life is to actually execute the real dharma, which is the self. Understanding the goal of life. That is actually no other system of medicine has this type of goal in the entire world. That has I have not seen any other system which has such a beautiful conclusion of the aim of life. So sometimes in Ayurveda, you'll see that is this self-realization or is it a medical textbook? So that was another thing that what I took a lot of my research. Actually, mantra chanting is actually a treatment in Ayurveda. So there are 3 types of treatments. Daivi Vipasrita Chikitsa, and you have Sattva Vijaya and Yukti Chikitsa. Yukti Chikitsa is actually treatment with medicines. And Sattva Vijaya is actually conquering the mind by sattvic life cultivation. So if you cultivate sattvic life, then there is no question of disease. That's why see Vyasadeva, the Vedavyasa Rishi, he simply says, Achyuta Ananta Govinda Nama Ucharana Beshaja Nashyanti Sakala Roga Satyam Satyam Vagamya. Achyuta Ananta Govinda, one who chants Achyuta's name, Govinda's name. Achyuta Ananta Govinda Namocharana Beshaja. One who chants, for that person, there is no disease. There's no question of disease because his mind is filled with Hari. When the mind is filled with the names of Hari, there's no question of any darkness, of any negative thoughts. So all diseases come from negative thoughts, from negative emotions. So it's always like Krishna, like Prabhupada said, if you always fly to the west, if the plane is always flying to the west, you won't see night. So if the mind is always actually always absorbed in Krishna's name, where is the time to think of negative thoughts and harmful behaviors? So that is our mission, to actually establish the science of flying towards the light always. The scientific basis of that, that's what we aim to do. So as you know, and also Prabhupada said, do not irritate people by blindly talking about Krishna consciousness. The success of our preaching will be substantiated by how many books are sold, but also the art is to sell many, many books, but don't irritate people. If you don't talk what they can understand, if you can't speak in the language they understand, then they will be irritated. They'll think we are a cult or something, and we are not going to belittle our Acharya's teachings. So we need to understand that our Acharyas taught the most scientific truths. So we will, whether we like it or not, science is the language of today's world. If we cannot actually if we cannot actually conduct ourselves in that way, people will always see us as some cult. They'll think that we are actually we're just trying to get away from reality. Of course, that's true in one way. They say we have to, but we are not trying to run away from reality. We understand everything, and then we come to the conclusion that happiness is not in this world. But it's important that we show in their language how Krishna consciousness is scientific. It's actually very practical to apply. So this is another purport of Srimad Bhagavatam, wherein it says Srimad Bhagavatam is the topmost theological science, and therefore it can react on the layman as medicinal doses. That's a very striking statement Prabhupada is making. So he's always referring to medicine. Very interesting. It is the topmost theory. Then, so we have to administer the medicine of the holy name according to how much this person is willing to take. So if my patient can take a blood pressure medicine, he can tolerate 10 milligrams of blood pressure medication. He's having high blood pressure, but I can give only 10 milligrams. Then we should say, okay, chant 30 minutes a day. If you can't chant 2 hours, chant 30 minutes. And you see, so that is the whole idea of our research. So we are doing on a 30-minute program of chanting. So we are not asking people to chant 2 hours, but we'll say just chant 30 minutes and we'll measure what happens to your heart parameters. So, and also Prabhupada is saying, thereby they are able to associate with the Lord and thus become purified from material diseases. Again, Vyasadev's statement, Achyuta Ananta Govinda, Namo Charana Beshaja. So Prabhupada is not just saying this whole process is just to go back to Godhead. Even in this life, this material body, you can live happily. So there is a relevance to apply Prabhupada's teachings even in our material health, not just spiritual health. So this is another purport, proving thought of Vishnu is medicine. That's a very striking statement. Then Prabhupada's purport, Ayurveda Shastra recommends, Aushadhi Chintayet Vishnu. Even while taking medicine, one should remember Vishnu, because the medicine is not all and all, and Lord Vishnu is the real protector. So that's why we say, actually, Ayurveda is actually a Vaishnava Siddhanta. It's actually, it establishes the Jiva and the Ishvara are separate, and the healing of the body takes place only with the sanction of Lord Vishnu, who's sitting in our hearts. So what is integrative medicine? Integrative medicine is a Western medicine branch, much similar to Ayurveda. It actually empowers the self-healing mechanisms. It is personalized and proactive. We don't try to treat a disease when diseases happen. We actually try to think about how to prevent disease, how to actually, prevent cancer, or how to actually prevent depression, how to prevent anxiety. These are the basic understandings of integrative medicine. And integrative medicine also uses ancient or modern approaches to achieve optimal health and well-being. So long-term application of this approach can significantly improve quality of life by saving time and resources. Like if you just see the amount of money which is being spent on chronic diseases is about $4.3 trillion. You can actually relieve the world of its hunger. See, just the diabetes, hypertension, dementia, those kind of diseases, which nursing homes, which are helping people with loss of memory. Just think about how much money we spend every year in the US. In the US alone, it's $4.3 trillion. So what if I give you a way that you can prevent diabetes, prevent anxiety, prevent the burning of the saving the brain, and actually make the patient person functional. Person may live up to 70 years, but the last 20 years of his life is spent in nursing home. So is that really productive life? It's up to every one of you to think about, So it's basically important to think about those aspects. So another thing is, this is actually, I'm going to give you this, the references. People who actually have a spiritual path, they live for 7 to 13 years longer than people who are atheistic. So why? It doesn't matter which, just having a spiritual path or a religious path increases your lifespan. According to modern science, this is not like some our own. This is actually published. Statistical data suggests this. Also, countries which actually have fasting, people who fast regularly as according to their culture, in those countries, cancer is very lower than in countries where don't have the habit of fasting. And America is, as you know, there's nothing like fasting for an American culture. But these are, and in Ayurveda, we talk about upavasa. Upavasa as a treatment. It actually purifies your body. So like in our own lifestyle, in Krishna consciousness, we have Ekadasi, which is twice a month we try to fast completely. If not, at least we have some non-grain, non-bean foods. But ideally, if you can actually practice full fast, that actually can vastly improve your health. There are many aspects like that, and ultimately, faith in a higher power gives you more sense of purpose in life. And also, if you lower the stress, then if you have low stress, that usually is associated with improved self-care habits. So but what I mean when I say self-care, that brings us to the point of Bhagavad Gita 6th chapter 17th verse. So I'll come to that in just a little bit. So ultimately, why people with spiritual path live longer? People with a spiritual path have a stronger social support system. They have better health habits. They have less smoking, drinking. They're careful with their diet. They're mostly plant-based. They have a tendency to fast, intermittent fasting, what we call. And ultimately it's positive thinking. The increased hope, love, and contentment. There was a research done. People who went to the church or the synagogue or mosque or temple, they were followed for 25 years. And those people had a much lower incidence of cancer than people who never went to a place of worship. So ultimately, it is optimism, it is belief in a divine plan. So these are all associated with decreasing your stress hormones. So you can measure stress hormones, and actually you can show that spiritual way of life lowers stress. So 6th chapter 17th verse, yuktahara viharasya yukta chestasya karmasu yukta swapnava bodhasya yogo bhavati dukkaha. He who is regulated in his habits, eating, sleeping, recreation, and work, can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system. So Krishna, who is Yogeshwara, who is actually the source of all universes, he's the universes, he's the source of all animate and inanimate. He's the super soul in every creature. Why is he talking about eating, sleeping? If he is so far away, removed from material world, why is he talking of very basic things like eating and sleeping? Because he's offering us a prescription. He doesn't want us to suffer, basically. So because if you suffer, 99% of us can't lead spiritual life. I mean, only who, like, how many people can really, like, Sanatan Goswami had that skin disease, and he could chant the holy name. But if I had a skin disease and I'm actually itching, I can't chant. I mean, I'm a conditioned soul. So Krishna is saying, if you want to have a stable spiritual practice, you need to take care of yourself. Only 4 things can do it. You need to eat at regular times. Don't eat too much, too little. Eat just the enough quantity of food, the correct type of food, and sleep the optimal amount. You need to have recreation, and you need to work do some kind of work which brings you happiness. Krishna is saying, don't work for just getting money. Krishna is actually saying, you do work which brings you inner happiness. So if you do all these 4 things, you can actually overcome the miseries of material existence. So you can definitely show all these scientifically, medically, you can prove these things. That is why we founded this institute. And what we are doing right now, we are in the initial phases of medical research on the effects of maha-mantra chanting on mitigating unhealthy stress. We finished the pilot study and we published it in 2018. And now we are, because of COVID, our next phase has been delayed, but now since June of 2021, we have started the American side of the research study, which is a much bigger study. And then we plan to start this study in India, at the All India Institute for Medical Sciences. Ultimately, research-based preaching will create a global ecosystem of wellness doctors with a health plan, unlike the current disease plan doctors. So we have, we say, there is no pill for every ill, but there's an ill with every pill. So, so basically, we need to come up with the wellness doctors rather than, disease plan doctors. By actually educating the scientific basis of Krishna conscious sattvic lifestyle, one actually is the health plan. Really, it's actually the best health plan you can find, and it's the prescription of the Supreme Lord Himself. So the game changer is you make people see timeless signs of Krishna consciousness in a health context. Say, whether you're a karmi or you're a devotee, you need health. So, so if we show that, Krishna consciousness can give you health, by chanting for 30 minutes of Hare Krishna mantra is like nutritional supplement. Everybody takes a nutritional supplement. They can eat their meals according to what they want, but they take a supplement. They take a B complex tablet as a nutritional supplement. Why not we promote the Hare Krishna mantra chanting as a universal supplement, as a universal spiritual nutrient? We can actually, if you just have all the 7, at least 2 billion people of the world appreciate that there is scientific basis to chant Hare Krishna mantra, then the whole world can actually change. So we have to produce what you need. You need to produce a lot of medical journals and literature, and that's what we are aiming to do in our time. So simple living, high thinking leads to healthy longevity. We are also trying to show that Bhakti Yoga is a living science. It is not some esoteric science. It is not some for elite group of people. This is just not for just some elite group of people with, the most advanced intellect. We are actually, we want people to appreciate for every common man, we can actually apply this and they can benefit from it. We want to publish research to establish the maha-mantra, that it reduces worry and tension. By the way, stress is the modern age killer. And if we publish that, the stress reducing property of the Hare Krishna mantra in peer-reviewed journals, we are actually hitting a goal, a major goal which Prabhupada wanted us to do. So we want to strive to get the world scientific community pay attention to Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. If you see the transcendental meditation, TM, you might have heard. How many people know about TM? So TM has been endorsed by the American Heart Association, that it reduces risk of cardiovascular disease. It is the first time ever that the mainstream medical body has endorsed a Eastern spiritual. Basically, of course, TM doesn't. Devotees may deny that, but ultimately, it's been more modern medical establishment has accepted that TM actually reduces heart risk. It's a pretty striking achievement, you can say, in that way. Maharishi Mahesh Yogi has done some good to the world. And ultimately, we need to understand that we need to recognize people who are from who have some differences from our philosophical line of thought. So unless we collaborate we have a more broader vision and we have a more broad-minded kind of approach, we are not going to make much progress. Scientific research is all about collaboration, is about making connections and actually appreciating other people with other. Sarvabhauma Prabhu, you have something to say?
Well, I used to be a TM teacher, and
Oh, wow.
they did a lot of work in that area. The thing is that they had to try to differentiate their meditation from a spiritual tradition. So it seems like the challenge of Krishna consciousness is because we promote the bhakti, devotion to God. TM had to kind of disassociate themselves, although they have a initiation that starts with a guru parampara that starts with Lord Narayan. And goes to Brahma and like that. But that seems to be a challenge with our movement, because we're very theistic. We don't hide the fact. This is a comment.
Oh, okay. Thank you. That's very interesting. No, well, if you distribute Prabhupada's books and we say everything in Prabhupada's books is actually research, just imagine everything is research verified. Why won't people read those books? At least you actually established 1% of Prabhupada's books. Of course, we can't, ultimately we can't prove Krishna's pastimes by scientific research. But at least probably holy name is the chanting of the holy name, efficacy of chanting the holy name is the only thing you can scientifically show to some extent. So that is why our institute is doing holy name research. So So basically, current research and its relationship with other similar programs, we want to validate the audible Hare Krishna mantra repetition as taught by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada as a tool to bring greater balance and healing. And the audible mantra repetition technique is a secular supplement. It is simple and more effective than other popular meditations. And basically, chanting 30 minutes a day improves the quality of heart signals, lowering inflammation in the body, lowering anxiety, and actually protecting against diseases like depression and insomnia, lack of sleep. So, do you have any questions on this slide? Okay, we're almost done with this. So this is our research study which we published in October of 2018. And we're going to show a short video about what that study was. If you are interested, what's the time now? Time is, Abhi, what's the time? Is it 8 o'clock?
I'm sorry, 7:55.
Okay. So I'm going to just go over this. So if you just see what we showed in our initial study, so if you just see there was go to compare E and F, it is the same person who chanted Hare Krishna mantra for 4 weeks. And after towards the end of her study, we took her heart rate variability, HRV, before she chanted, and then she chanted for 30 minutes. She took a 5-minute break, and again we did HRV. Just see the difference. You can see that it's a remarkable change. So I just showed these tracings to a world expert on heart rate variability, which is, by the way, one of the most accepted parameters of wellness. So there are about 80,000 publications on which show that HRV, heart rate variability, is an indicator of good health. So this world expert looked at these tracings and he asked me, what was the time interval between E and F? How many months? And I told him only 30 minutes. He was shocked. He said, I've investigated many meditative practices. In none of those meditative practices, we can see such a dramatic change in heart rate, heart rhythms. I mean, I think this is a very striking thing to note. I'm not going to get into too much. So ultimately, we are saying what we are showing by this is when your heart rhythms are very orderly, they actually facilitate better brain function. So if you have very orderly heart signals, like on the right side, you tend to have more positive, very positive thoughts, and you tend to learn things and also apply things in your life. But if you have the kind of heart signals like on the left, which inhibits brain function, that will actually won't do a lot of good. It actually probably causes a lot of, it's a sign that if you're if you see these signals on the left when compared to the right, the left is, all the left signals are they inhibit brain function, and then the person chanted the holy name, and then it became very orderly. And this is what we saw in our research study. So this is our current research. We are actually starting our research at the All India Institute of Medical Sciences in Rishikesh. We actually had meetings just 2 weeks back. I came back from India, and we are actually starting our research study. It's one of the very reputed institutes in India. We're just waiting for funds raise funds for the study. So ultimately, we want to foster engagement of highly talented and scientifically trained devotees in ISKCON. We want to constitute a strong team of young physicians, scientists, and scholars in basic sciences worldwide. We want devotees to get to express their appreciation to Srila Prabhupada with their own training, whether it's in medicine, whether it's in whatever, like we said, art, science, philosophy, psychology, everything can be used in Prabhupada's service. Ultimately, that's that you can, if you can use that in scientifically validating Prabhupada's teachings, that's that we so. There's one just short video, and then I'll take questions.
Please take as much time as you need.
Yeah. Gopinath Das, a physician here in Boulder, Colorado, and both certified in internal medicine and integrative holistic medicine. We recently concluded that the audible chanting of the Hare Krishna maha-mantra has the power to protect us against chronic disease and also improve our power of self-regulation, which is a marker of long-term wellness. This first of its kind clinical scientific study was done among healthy American volunteers who had no prior experience with mantra meditation here at the Prabhupada Research Institute, Integrative Medicine.
Give me just a reminder, within 45 minutes.
What was this research study all about? Can you explain it in layman's terms?
Of course. So I had the opportunity to partake in a research study that was exploring how mantra meditation affects the body physically. And so this was sort of a way to merge the scientific with the spiritual.
What were the procedures which were followed, measured? What was measured?
For 6 weeks, 30 minutes a day, I spent chanting Hare Krishna mantra using mala beads to sort of keep me mindful during my practice and to track how long I was doing it for. And then every few weeks, I would check in, and my heart rate variance, HRV, would be monitored, which is, as I understand it, pretty much the time between heartbeats.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And the idea behind the mantra was obviously because you were checking on my HRV, which is the heart rate variable, which from my understanding is basically my heart rate period between beats. And the idea is to utilize the mantra. It's really going to set your body's tone to start to defend against everything and anything from everyday stress to illnesses and whatnot. From my understanding, from going through this process and checking in, my data personally, as we looked at the end, was quite substantial, which was really interesting to me. And I found for myself, beyond what could be measured with a computer, utilizing it and really finding my own life kind of coming into a pace. I was even telling you recently that I find even today, the more I chant, the better my week's going, the better I'm feeling, the better things are kind of rolling when I'm not chanting as much. You feel it. So it's been a really great impact. I still carry my mala with me in the car every day.
Wow.
And I use them all the time.
So what was your experience like?
You know, before I've practiced meditation in the respects of sitting in silence or cross-legged for extended periods of time, trying to clear your head. Obviously, this is a different idea with that, and I didn't have as much as that, but I was started doing the chanting, I was like, I'm not sure this is going to be funny enough here. And it's definitely, so my experience was really overwhelmingly positive, a lot higher than I expected. I mean, I went with open mind and hope that it would work, but I had my doubts in that first week. And I don't have my doubts.
Wow. Hey, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Brian.
Okay. That's it. Thank you. That's that. I would stop here. If anybody had any comments or suggestions, questions, or anything for the live, please let. I would be very happy to hear.
Please feel free to unmute and ask your questions, give appreciations, takeaways.
Mother Guru Bhakti, you raised your hand.
Yes. So I was going to ask, what are your current challenges? One of the challenges you said is a lack of financial resources. Do you have challenges in any other challenges in terms of recruiting volunteer like subjects for your studies? Or
Financially, it's one thing. With most we want like mantra. For example, we have a wealth of talent. Like we need mantra instructors. For example, we need of course we need participants. We need like to complete the US study. We've met the female quota of participants, but we are very difficult. We need 5 more male participants who are white or Hispanic participants or non-Indian participants. So we are for the US study, we have the funds to complete, but for the Indian side of the study, we are looking for funding. Yes, you're right. And of course, we want devotees to be part of us. They can share their ideas, have their own, they can run their own under, we can all collaborate and actually think about very similar projects which are related with, how spirituality, Krishna consciousness relates with health. For example, 4 regulative principles. What is the scientific basis? We can actually show that regulative habits can actually improve one's chance of living longer. We can do a study like that. We can certainly show the power of self-regulation can improve the quality of food which you eat. If you have more power of self-regulation, then you can plan what I can eat and what is my. So if you eat better, of course you're going to see the benefits in terms of having a lower risk for diabetes, hypertension, better sleep, so things like that. So it's just not maha-mantra. We can actually show that cultivation of sattvic living has actually very parallel, reproducible health benefits. So the problem is just not finances. It's all about collaboration, having a larger group of talented devotees, and I have no doubt that our movement has, like yourself, you're a physician with so many years of experience. We would love for you to actually give your guidance, and it's just not. It's just, in my opinion, 5 years ago, I never imagined that we'll get the funding to do our American side, and now we have funding for that, and I'm pretty sure we will. I have no doubt that we'll get the funding for the Indian study also. But the thing is, we need blessings of Vaishnavas, and we want to please Prabhupada ultimately, and we need that. We need to keep our focus and basically look at the instead of instead of arguing and fighting with materialists, let's focus on scientifically validating concepts of Krishna consciousness. So the age is all about scientific language. It's this. You can't say in a medical conference, I can't go and say this. Kali Santarana Upanishad says this or that. It is. You have to show some numbers and data. It's actually quite simple. If you focus on it, you can get it. You can really do it well. So we would ultimately, of course, funds are. It ultimately comes to, we can do a lot of. See, a lot of universities, they have endowed chairs, which are supported by Hindu organizations. Okay, now why not we have an endowed chair for holy name research at a university? If you just see, if you want to build a temple in India, it's about 100 crores. 100 crores is about I don't know, it's about $1.5 million. But if you just see, if you do this research and publish, this research can last for 300-400 years. So if you just see, temples and buildings can fall apart, but the research, and which once it's published in a medical journal or as scholarly circles, it can never be wiped out. People 500-600 years from now can see that this particular sound vibration is actually, it's applicable to our age. Of course, people in the 15th century thought they were the modern man. But the thing is, the genes have not changed over the last 20,000 years. The human genes, when Krishna was on the earth, and the human genes now are the same genes. There is no change in genes. Also, if you want to have the laws of maintaining well-being are the same when Krishna was on the earth, and now it's the same. The laws of how to actually maintain mental balance are the same. So if you actually publish it as a prescribable, maha-mantra is a prescribable treatment, that can last, many thousands of years. And actually, that is what we are trying to establish. It's not me. It's not my personal agenda. It's much bigger than one individual. Only a group of people who appreciate it can do it. I cannot do it alone. I know that. I know that very well. So we need more. We need a larger. So yeah, 2 participants have raised their hands. So Hare Krishna.
Kishore Priya was first, I think.
So 2 participants have raised their hands.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I was just curious, and I may have missed it. Your eligibility criteria for the participation in these studies, do they have to be vegetarian? Anything with the 4 regulative principles?
No,
No.
We just selected lay people.
Okay, and so you just recruit anybody who's
basically we in the US we recruited only American participants who are not Indian. who don't have any, who don't even know the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. So they were simply given a methodical way of clearly pronouncing the Hare Krishna mantra and hearing it. And hearing it in a way that the vibration resonates on your chest wall. Every syllable of the Hare Krishna mantra should just resonate on your chest wall. And of course, we eliminated people who have other meditative practices. If they were doing another meditative practices, that's an exclusion criteria. We also, also there are other exclusion criteria like uncontrolled diabetes, obesity, if they had addictions, we eliminated. If they're on many mental health medications, like things like that. So yeah.
These are mostly, I would presume you could say, healthy volunteers.
Yeah, it's not that they were 100% healthy. Some of them had mild diabetes, some of them had mild hypertension, but they were stable, they were well controlled. And their ages were between 21 and 65.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, 21, the oldest participant was 62, I think. Yeah, so they were pretty novice. That's why our paper is novice meditators. They had no prior experience with chanting.
So I'm just curious. Did any one of your participants become a devotee?
Yes, after 2.5 years, all of these participants are chanting the holy name. So
Okay.
I'll give you one. I'll give you one example. So again, what is the definition of a devotee? It's not. Can we define a devotee? I don't think it's above my pay grade to call somebody a devotee or a non-devotee. It is Krishna, and only Krishna can call someone a devotee. So that's number one. Number two is, I'll give you an example. There was one lady participant who was given the placebo. So I did not go and see. Mother Guru Bhakti asked me to talk the aim of our institute. So I did not discuss the specifics of our study. We need another 1 hour to discuss the study. So I'll give you so anyway, this lady was enrolled in the placebo arm. She chanted a Sanskrit sound without spiritual connection for 4 weeks, 30 minutes a day. And so when I enrolled her, she said, I am an atheist. Okay, I don't believe in God, but I'll do your study. Okay. And you can expect that I will follow exactly what you said. I'll sign the consent and I'll do it every day. So, and we monitored her heart rhythms every week. And then at 4-week point, she switched to the Hare Krishna mantra at the 4-week point, and she chanted for 2 weeks. So, and after the end of 2 weeks, we had an exit interview, and she said that, and she filled that all the participants were asked to fill out survey questions, and we got objective parameters checked, like the heart rhythms, heart rate variability. While she was exiting, this is what she said. See, I still am an atheist, but I'll chant the second mantra because it does something to me. What does that, why? I mean, why did the first Sanskrit sound attract her? Why did the second sound? We didn't tell her which was what. So, to think that only a certain type who lives in a temple, or to somebody who dresses in a certain way, or to think that that's a devotee, is that Krishna's definition? I don't think so.
No, I'm thinking more, going a little more stringent, because this is a forum of devotees. I was just wondering, did anybody take to Krishna consciousness seriously in that sense, kind of follow the 4 regulative principles, seeking initiation, that kind of a thing. I was just curious.
That may be your point of view, but ultimately Prabhupada said that if somebody chants the holy name, one is attracted by the holy name, that's up to him, that's up to them and Krishna. It may take them a few lifetimes, but they started the journey. That is they would have probably never started if you didn't cite a scientific reason, a scientific research study. Just experiment. Even in your regular preaching, you can actually ask them, people who are resistant to chant, you can ask them to just experiment, just check yourself, and we'll do your HRV, and we'll show you how it changes. I bet that they will see a merit in what we are doing. So whether it's not up, we are a scientific institute. We are scientific researchers. We are not trying to define whether somebody became by ISKCON standards, somebody has become a devotee. See, if you try to put everything in a
No. I wasn't talking about
it's like tunnel vision. If you're seeing everything in the context of a spiritual organization, religious organization, then why did Prabhupada call our, this is universal movement?
Yeah. No, this was just for my understanding. It wasn't like I wasn't questioning your study or your study design. It was mainly for my curiosity, because I we know the potency of the holy name, and you said people have been chanting for long enough. So I was just curious to know if anybody became like.
No, we gave them Prabhupada's books. We gave them Prabhupada's books after they finished the study. They tasted prasadam. Every time we met them, we gave them prasadam, but we didn't tell them it was offered to Krishna. But after 2.5 years, most of them were still chanting at least one round a day. Well, if Krishna chooses to call them a devotee, maybe he will, maybe he is. It's beyond it's not in our scope to investigate that. It's a scientific endeavor.
Thank you, Prabhupada.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you for your great presentation. I just had one query. While you were doing the heart rate variability checks or heart rhythm variability, so is there any contradictions in the literature about what is a good HRV, what is a bad HRV? Well, because even in the scientist community, for example, when we study about brain regions, so people say sometimes alpha rhythms are good for health, sometimes they say alpha rhythms are bad for health. Do you have any contradictions in such things in heart rate variability? Or
contradictions means, yeah, there are nomograms. So there are cutoffs for each age group. If you have, so normally, number one, women have better HRVs than men. Probably that's the reason their brains are better than men. So the thing is, but if you just see also, as we age, your HRV will actually usually deteriorate till you're around age 75. Between 40 and 75, your HRV goes down. And then after 70, if you live up to 75, between 75 and 95, we will, believe it or not, HRV improves by itself without doing anything. So that's because of parasympathetic tone. See, so there are nomograms. You can get those nomograms. You can actually compare which is unhealthy, which is healthy, according to the age. Yeah, there are resources like that.
okay.
You have to go into literature and see what is the healthy range, which is not healthy range. Yes.
Okay, bro. Thank you.
Mother Guru Bhakti, did you unmuted? Did you have? Okay, yes. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say that one practical thing we probably could do is if each of us would recruit one male, non-Indian, who has not practiced mantra, and just give them, just recruit them, that'll be a huge help, because that's what we are needing. And if we find someone, where do we direct them to?
So basically, Christina is our coordinator. She'll screen them. And then if they qualify the inclusion criteria and they don't have any exclusion criteria, it'll be sent to me. then what I do then is I send them the manual, so they receive and the consent. And if they read the manual and they sign the consent, I'll ship the materials, the Japamala and the sensors. And then we do it everything remotely. They can be anywhere in the US. We can just do the measurement of heart rhythms. We also have the Stroop test, which we can do remotely, which actually measures the brain function, brain reaction time, things like that. So everything will, once they enroll in the Stroop, tomorrow we are actually, tomorrow 2 participants are starting tomorrow morning. So we need 5 more after this, and yeah.
I'm sharing her phone number in the chat. So if you find someone who is willing to do this study or experiment, then you can contact Christina.
Yes.
That would be very helpful.
Yes, thank you so much. So I think it's
Prabhuji, is there a place where we can read where we can get the inclusion criteria?
Yeah, I can send it to you. I can send it to you right now. I can actually yeah, so I can actually send it to you, no problem. So can you I'll send it to Mother Guru Bhakti, or then she can see you can see all the criteria in one place. No problem. I'll send it to you.
Would it be okay if we posted the YouTube as well and on the WhatsApp page?
Yes,
that would be nice. That would get better coverage, I think.
Thank you so much for joining us. This was wonderful, and it's so nice to see. I was at Washington Square Park today, and they were doing Harinam in the park, and what you're saying makes so much sense and resonates so much with seeing people hearing the maha-mantra for the first time as they walk by. Some people, their whole mood just changes. You see it.
Yeah.
And, right, you measure after some time, and right away it's
actually I was in IIT. So the Prabhuji, I know Mr. Prabhuji, who just had a question. Vinay Gupta Prabhu, he's from IIT, Indian Institute of Technology. I spoke at IIT Mandi upon the kind invitation of Leela Purushottam Prabhu. And Leela Purushottam Prabhu, after I gave the talk about 2.5 weeks ago, he said we should also do a study on Kirtan. We can actually, I was thinking in the next Sadhu Sangha, we can actually do some heart rhythms. We can actually see, but we need somebody to contact the organizers of Sadhu Sangha. We can actually do heart rhythm monitoring, and that can be but I can't do it myself. That's what I'm saying. I need more motivated, passionate people to do this kind of work. It's just impossible for me to do it alone.
It's so important because so many people, I teach elementary education, and I've brought some of my colleagues to the Bhakti Center to hear they do a Tuesday night kirtan and a Thursday night kirtan. They used to, and they walked out of there walked in filled with stress and filled with anxiety, and walked out so peaceful. And they had never heard the maha-mantra before. It was the first time. So
yeah, so that's why are we afraid of? Don't have any doubts about showing scientifically. Why should we be even? We should not be afraid that we fearlessly show that I'm confident that you'll find something. So our future plan is to do functional brain MRI scans. So at AIMS, we are doing the brain scans, by the way. So that's why it's more expensive. That's why it's in the AIMS, India, everything is cheaper. So we chose to do brain scans at All India Institute for Medical Sciences, and hopefully it'll happen. So we can actually show what happens physically, the changes in the brain neurons, how they actually change their actions. Yeah. But if you, I'm glad to do a technical presentation of the study. I'm sorry that I didn't have time. It was just Mother Guru Bhakti asked me to talk about our institute, so I didn't talk about the study itself.
No, it was
Anybody
a fascinating talk, and it would be fascinating to have you come back and speak a little bit more on this. Everybody would be so interested. It sounds so relatable, and it's with people today so stressed out to have this in their tool chest to be able to explain to people the health benefits. It's, you know, it's just
no. I'll tell you this. I'll tell you one thing which I can say that I'll close the session with this. So why are people stressed out? People are stressed out because they think they are the stress thought. But if you actually create a space between ourselves and the stress, and we actually understand we are only observers of the stress, we are not the stress. If you create that space, you will not be affected by the stress. So the great rishis of Vedic times, they knew the technology to create that space between you and your thoughts. If you actually have that space created, nothing can stop you from understanding, connecting with yourself, and actually be aligned to the higher intelligence in your heart. So, and if you just see the most authentic Vedic scriptures say Krishna is in your heart. It is, if you just say Narayana Suktam, you say Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying, I am situated in everyone's heart. They say Arjuna Tishtati. I'm actually established. Why is Krishna mentioning the heart again and again? He is not saying brain. He's saying, I'm situated in your heart. Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hrideshe Arjuna Tishtati. Krishna is not talking about brain. Krishna is talking about, I am situated in your heart. That's why our research is on the heart and then the brain. So, and Prabhupada also said, don't take the brain seriously in research. Because according to Vedic science, we talk about the heart. And literally, Mahaprabhu said, the Hare Krishna mantra cures your heart disease. It's actually, it cures your heart disease. Literally and spiritually, it's true. That's why we are checking heart rate variability. Okay, Hare Krishna. Thank you all. Thank you, Mother Guru Bhakti, for this opportunity. I wish we hope to, I look forward to listening to other speakers on this forum and looking forward. Hare Krishna. Thank you
for this, and hopefully we can do a follow-up on the study, and maybe we'll take you up on doing that study at the Sadhu Sangha on Kirtan.
Maybe you should contact, if anybody is there, we have to make arrangements for the censors. So you need to let me know within the next couple of weeks if you can.
Sure, I'll get in touch with you.
Okay, Haribol, thank you.
Hare Krishna.